Shrimad's divine grace, founder of Iskana Charnadavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Grantaraj Shrimadbhagavatam ki Jai. Their most merciful Lordship Shri Shriadakunja Bihari ki Jai. Shri Baladev Mahisi Bhadra ki Jai. Shri Nathaji Shri Balagopa ki Shri Nitai ki Jai. Nitai Go Prem Hari Bol. Oh, glories to the assembly. Hare Krishna. Oh, glories to the assembly. Hare Krishna. Oh, glories to the assembly. Hare Krishna. All glories to the Lord, feet of Shishi Guru and Shri Gauranga. I need some glasses. And you know what? We don't have a watch. We don't have a clock. My watch is in the kitchen on the table. My watch, yeah. I turned the microphone away because I found that it interferes with the microphone there, because what you do, you get the sound coming out of this, which is those speakers, and then you get the sound from that input there, and it interferes. Feedback. Yeah, well, it's kind of double sounding, overlapping each other by a minute. Yeah, parts of a second. Mother Nitya Krishna gave class the other day. I was hearing, she was saying the division of a second for the association with a pure devotee that could give one liberation. And I was told it was 1/64. Okay. So we're splitting hairs between 111 and 1/64. But see, it gives evidence that. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. It gives evidence that, in fact, in times past, they also had superior ways of keeping track of time, so that they even had parts of a second. And the way to form that kind of a clock is described in Bhagavatam. So if we want to make a Vedic clock that goes by 1/64 of seconds, then we can make one of those. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Narayanam Namaskritya. Narayanam Namaskritya. Naram Chaiva Narottamam. Naram Chaiva Narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Tato Jayamudiraya. Tato Jayamudiraya. Nasta Prayashu Bhadreshu. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttama Shloke. Bhagavati Uttama Shloke. Bhaktir Bhagavati Naistaki. Bhaktir Bhagavati Naistaki. Reading from Shrimadbhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 6, Text 12. Okay, very good. Wow, we're moving right along quite rapidly here. Text 12. Chitra. Chitra. Dhatu. Dhatu. Vichitradin. Vichitradin. Chitra Dhatu Vichitradin. Chitra Dhatu Vichitradin. Ibha. Ibha. Bhagna. Bhagna. Puja. Puja. Druman. Druman. Ibna Bhagna Puja Druman. Jalasayan. Jalasayan. Shiva. Shiva. Jalan. Jalan. Jalasayan Shiva Jalan. Jalasayan Shiva Jalan. Nalini. Nalini. Sura Sevita. Sura Sevita. Nalanini Surasevita,
Nalini Surasevita,
Chitra, Swanai, Patrarater, Chitra Swanai Patrarater, Vibramad, Vibramad, sorry. Brahmara, Shriya, Vibramad Brahmara Shriya, Chitradhatu Vichitradrin, Chitradhatu Vichitradrin, Chitradhatu Vichitradrin, Ibhabhagna Bhujadruma, Ibhabhagna Bhujadruma, Ibhabhagna Bhujadruma, Jalasayan Shiva Jalam, Jalasayan Shiva Jalam, Jalasayan Shiva Jalam, Nalini Sura Sevita, Nalini Sura Sevita, Nalini Sura Sevita, Chitra Swanai Patrarater, Chitra Swanai Patraraner, Chitra Swanai Patrarater, Vibramana Brahmana Shya, Vibramad Brahmara Shriya, Vibramad Brahmara Shriya, Chitradhatu Vichitradrin, Ibhabhagna Bhujadruman, Jalasayan Shiva Jalan, Nalini Surasevita, Chitra Swanai Patrarater, Vibramad Brahmara Shriya, Chitradhatu, valuable minerals like gold, silver, and copper. Vichitra, full of variegatedness. Adrin, hills and mountains. Ibhabhagna, broken by the giant elephants. Bhuja, branches. Jai Shishigana Gunjabhari, Jai Jagannath, Jai Baladev, Manishabhadra, Jai Shishiganta. Broken by the giant elephants. Bhuja, branches. Druma, trees. Jalasayan Shiva, health-giving. Jalan, reservoirs of water. Nalini, lotus flowers. Surasevita, aspired to by the denizens of heaven. Chitrasvana, pleasing to the heart. Patraratai, by the birds. Vibhamat, bewildering. Brahmada Sriya, decorated by drones. Chitradatu vichitradrini babagna bujadruman jalasayan shiva jalan narini surasevita chitraswanai patrarater vibramad brahmarashriya. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanadavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. I passed through hills and mountains full of reservoirs of various minerals like gold, silver, and copper, and through tracts of land with reservoirs of water filled with beautiful lotus flowers, fit for the denizens of heaven, decorated with bewildered bees and singing birds. Please repeat. I passed through hills.
I passed through hills
and mountains full of reservoirs.
And mountains full of reservoirs
Of various minerals. Like gold, silver, and copper.
Like gold, silver, and copper.
And through tracts of land.
With
reservoirs of water. Filled with beautiful lotus flowers. Fit for the denizens of heaven. Decorated with bewildered bees. And singing birds. I passed through hills and mountains full of reservoirs of various minerals like gold, silver, and copper, and through tracts of land with reservoirs of water filled with beautiful lotus flowers, fit for the denizens of heaven, decorated with bewildered bees and singing birds. There is no purport. So we do the next verse. Let me see here. Now we did repeat that verse 3 times, and there is quite a long purport there. We'll just repeat this verse once, and then I'll jump into the translation. But see, I could comment on this. There is no comment, but there is so much contained in this verse that comment can be spoken about, because this is the experience Narad is giving to Vedavyas about how he got to gain Vedavyas's own darshan. Right now there's sadhu sangha going on, I understand, in Florida. So there could be told a story of each and every devotee, how they got to the sadhu sangha, how it came to be that they gained association with the devotees, and how it came to be then that they gained the desire to want to go. And as Narad is revealing here, his experience from having been with these devotees, these elevated sages, and having, by their grace, engaged in devotional service now, his view of the world, he was able to look at from a completely different experience for most human beings. What he's describing here, a lot of people might have the experience on a journey from here to Montana, say, right? Looking out their windows, they could see tracts of land covered with greenery, beautiful birds humming, but they wouldn't see that. They get their minds in the job, where they're going, what they're going to do when they get there. They get the telephone in their hand, they write messages here and there, all kinds of things. But see, this life experience that is being revealed to Narad Muni now is because he is gaining Krishna consciousness. His worldview, he is seeing the beauty and the magnificence for everything that there is and everything that's there before his eyes now. Text 13. Nalavenu sirastanba
Nalavenu sarastamba
Kusha kichaka gavaram
kusati Chatagahwaram
Eka eva tiyatoham
Eka eva tiyatoham
Adraksham dipinam mahat
Atraksham Vipinam Mahat
Goram pratibhayakaram
Ghoram Pratibhayakaram
Vyaloluka Sivadriram.
Vyaloluka Shivajiram.
Translation. I then passed alone through many forests of rushes, bamboo, reeds, sharp grass, weeds, and caves, which were very difficult to go through alone. I visited deep, dark, and dangerously fearful forests, which were the play yards of snakes, owls, and jackals. Well, let's repeat that verse. I then passed alone through many forests of rushes, bamboo, reeds, sharp grass, weeds and caves, which were very difficult to go through alone. I visited deep, dark, and dangerously fearful forests, which were the play yards of snakes, owls, and jackals. Purport by His Divine Grace of Bhakti-Charnadavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. It is the duty of a mendicant, Parivrajagacharya, to experience all varieties of God's creation by traveling alone through all forests, hills, towns, villages, etc., to gain faith in God and strength of mind, as well as to enlighten the inhabitants with the message of God. A sannyasi is duty-bound to take all these risks without fear. And the most typical sannyasi of the present age is Lord Chaitanya, who traveled in the same manner through the central Indian jungles, enlightening even the tigers, bears, snakes, deer, elephants, and many other jungle animals. In this age of Kali, sannyas is forbidden for ordinary men. We should repeat that. In this age of Kali, sannyas is forbidden for ordinary men. One who changes his dress to make propaganda is a different man from the original ideal sannyasi. One should, however, take the vow to stop social intercourse completely and devote life exclusively to the service of the Lord. The change of dress is only a formality. Lord Chaitanya did not accept the name of a sannyasi. And in this age of Kali, the so-called sannyasis should not change their former names, following in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya. In this age, devotional service of hearing and repeating the holy glories of the Lord is strongly recommended. And one who takes the vow of renunciation of family life need not imitate the Parivrajagacharya like Nard or Lord Chaitanya, but may sit down at some holy place and devote his whole time and energy to hear and repeatedly chant the holy scriptures left by the great acharyas, like the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshusumilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. What an amazing revelation is being given here. we will see in the movement itself, according to time and circumstance, adjustments being made. I do see from time to time sannyasis taking other names. What has happened is, by formalities, there is in India a line of what are called Gotra gurus. Gotra guru for the family comes when the child is born. By astrological calculations, he can tell different characteristics that the child would have in his future. This Gotra guru also, he gives the family, through ritualistic ceremonies as well, these practices, Garbhadan, Samskaram, like this, revealing to each family their relationship to Krishna. So it's not the same as an initiation into the parampara system that we're promoting in Krishna consciousness. So because of that, in that Gotra system, they change names. And so when devotees come into Krishna consciousness who are having familial relations recognized through their Gotra guru, they would believe necessarily that the same practice is taking part in Krishna consciousness. And so we are having this happen. Okay? So we might look at this, oh, they're fallen and all like this. But Srila Prabhupada is pointing out here, just like for a brahmachari, it's not required either, Srila Prabhupada said, to take sannyas. As long as he remains faithful in the service he has as brahmachari, that's sufficient in this age. Now, I went through a lot of hell before I came to the movement, going out, removing myself from society, totally putting myself in the trust of God, who I didn't know at that time was Krishna. But with the understanding of super soul, because for the most part, when we pray for help, Krishna is not jumping out of his pastimes in Leela, in the spiritual world, to jump down here and take part in our activities, right? But super soul, which is able to, who is able to share consciousness with us, can give us a superior perspective on all the arrangements that have been given to us for the sake of developing pure love for Krishna. So when you have a pure heart like Mother Kunti, she's praying to be put into difficulties even. What kind of love and trust and faith? This is also sannyas mentality. Mother Kunti, that she can have that kind of mentality, reveals it's not restricted. Krishna consciousness, the aim of our institution or our society, is to develop within our experience Krishna consciousness. So no matter what body you're in, and Lord Chaitanya was able to do that with tigers, as it says here. Tigers. Bringing them to the state of realizing who he was so that they could dance also. But see, here's another thing about a soul of that nature then being put into the body of a tiger at that time could enable them, just like in previous we've seen sages, Jad Bharat taking the form of a deer. But this form of deer kept him from creating attachments again that drew him to becoming the deer. But as the deer then, he even renounced his own familial relationships with other deer, and he went off and lived by himself. So this experience of Krishna consciousness is what we are aiming towards, not the show for fame, adoration, and distinction. We don't want to have that rubbing off on us, because it's very difficult. Once you get into that mentality, it becomes a deep well. Because then you can't preach what Krishna gives you. You have to preach according to what the crowd wants to hear. But there's a difference between knowing what the crowd needs according to their time and circumstance, and then just preaching to tickle their ears, bending the philosophy or changing the regulative principles. One devotee was asked, keeping the regulative principles? Well, yeah, 3 of them. I don't eat meat, fish, or eggs. So for someone that knows that we have 4 regulative principles, that one of those is the not eating of meat, fish, and egg. We also don't take intoxicants. We also don't gamble. We also don't have illicit activities. What he was actually admitting was he was breaking 3 of the regulative principles. So Krishna enables us to experience the higher form of consciousness because he is of that sober mind. I wanted to talk this afternoon somewhat about this verse in the Bhagavad Gita that talks about Dihino Shmenyatade Ekamaram Yoganam Dira Dehantara Praptir Dirastatra Namuyati, that as this body is going through many changes in this life, through boyhood, youth, old age, then we are similarly going to go through a change when we leave this body. But the last statement Krishna says in this verse, Dirastatra Namuyati, a sober mind is not bewildered by this change. And he's revealing in this verse that by coming close to Krishna, by developing a sober relationship, which we get by keeping the 4 regulative principles, then he, being with us through all of this, is not going to allow us to be bewildered through death. And see, we have been bewildered every other time. We can't remember any of that. What does bewildered mean?
Like to lose your memory.
You forget memory, you forget everything, right? But he's saying you won't be. You won't be bewildered by such a change. Adira, a knowledgeable soul, which you are. By surrendering to Krishna, you become Adira. Not that you have to become Mother Mohini's son. Mother Dakshi's son. Mother Dakshi's son, Dira. A wise person, a wise soul. Because surrender to Krishna then puts you in that position Krishna is talking about, as being a sober person. And that we having knowledge of throughout our life, that it's giving us this Krishna consciousness that we are seeking to have as we chant and pray constantly every day and have the association with each other. He is the one that's going to keep us from being bewildered.
What numbers is he content about the Gita?
I was wanting to look that up myself.
Okay.
I thought it was 7:13 or something like that, but I could be wrong. We are putting our faith in Krishna every day for the end result we are hoping to have as a relationship with Krishna. And Krishna is seen by that endeavor. Every endeavor you make in Krishna consciousness to serve, every day you're chanting, every day you're reading. These are all giving Krishna in you, super soul. We're not going to change that Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan, but we can change super souls. Just like he's changing our minds and the way we look at him, right? We look at Krishna differently now than we did when we were kids, or what we did when we had a concept of there might be a God, right? There was a stage in our development where maybe some of us didn't have that. Maybe we won't. Some of us have always had a clear understanding, yeah, Krishna's God. But once he brings us to that stage of knowing him personally, that he is the one speaking these words, giving these understandings to us, a very strong point being made in history, by history itself, is that the record of history, the word is said, the pen is more powerful than the sword. You've heard that before, right? But what does that mean? I could take a pen and stab you with it or something. What it means is that the consciousness of the person, of the author, putting into writing a way of thinking, a different way of looking at things, can in fact stop wars or create wars. And it can do so in a more effective way than the sword, which will require taking people's lives to do it. So that powerful pen we have of the very most powerful words given by the very most powerful person there is, then that's what we can take this truth as being. Krishna's words are absolute, and we can stand on them knowing full well that he is telling us this because it is absolute truth that he wants us to know and carry with us to that point so that we can remember him. So he's doing all of this for us to be able to remember him, take part in all of these activities that we will think of as normal daily activities, which are actually all meant to bring us back to Krishna. Worship of Tulsi Maharani, come in the morning program, chanting, singing, taking prashadam. Got a couple more minutes yet. But all these things that normal human beings all engage in that will keep them bound to the material world, Krishna is making the means for us to be able to become totally free from the material world. And just as a matter of a different way of looking at things, a different way of looking at life, well, I hope by this evening I can get an easel. It's one of those big drawing boards, those pages you flip over. So I want to draw the universe there because I'm getting a vision of the universe, how it is, and how the milk ocean is reflecting everything that we're seeing in the universe, in the sky, and how the living entities that are on that surface, they're huge, absolutely huge, bigger than these planets. The inner lining of the universe, it makes up part of the Bhumandal. The Bhumandal is said to be that land space which is inhabitable by life forms. And that is the biggest living surface as the inner covering of the universe itself.
Can you take a picture of that, please?
That's what I want to do. Tirthapad's got a telescope, he's telling me. See, here it is. We are said to be a middle planet, which positions us in between the sun and the inner lining of the universe. So if we look exactly opposite of what we see the sun as, we know we will be facing the inner lining of the universe. So we point our telescopes in that direction. But the thing is, see, depending on where we are, at what time of the day, at what time of the night, all these things. And it's possible we could see it in the daytime. They don't look in the daytime. I don't know that they do. Telescopes normally take them out at night, right? But I suspect there's Leela going on 24/7 on that surface. That's the surface that Mahavishnu on the causal ocean is on, at the bottom of the universe. So, in your mind, you can go there right now. Boom.
No.
Or right there. Just picture it. This mind trained with reality. That's what Bhagavatam is. Bhagavatam is giving us the ability with our minds to see reality as it is. It won't be a surprise then when we leave. We'll already have seen it many times. Gayatri gives us that ability. Krishna lets you, through Gayatri, you chant Om Bhur-Bhava Swata. You are chanting in reverence of the various levels of the planetary systems. In doing that, your mind is giving you the vision of that planetary system the same way that those living entities who are living on the inner surface of the universe are seeing it. See that? That is what is meant by Krishna consciousness. Brahma Samhita reveals how Mahavishnu is seeing all of this. That he gave the vision to Brahma to be able to see it in that manner. And that's what this pen writing of Ganesh, spoken by Sri Vedavyas, is empowering us to be able to realize. Not that we have to gain some control of something to do it, but by using what we already have. In the way that Krishna says it will be usable to be able to have that experience, which means keeping the four regulatory principles. So we are being given a tremendous, I say this every time I give class, as a reminder to myself as well, to know how valuable this treasure that we've had all our lives with us as a super soul, sharing this body with us as the one we can rely upon for absolute truth all the time, and that which we store in our hearts as the treasure of his very own words that will guide us beyond this body's use and into the next body's use. But when I say next body's use, it won't be a material body. If we stay in that energy of bhakti, then it'll be made of the bhakti which we are now using to perform service will be manifest as the souls that we are. It's the same substance of the soul. Think about it. Bhakti is eternal. Bhakti gives knowledge of itself. And the eternalness of itself is in and of itself the end-all of knowing Krishna. Because Krishna is manifesting eternity for what it is. He is the summum bonum of eternalness, right? And that unlimitedly, because he expands himself into so many unlimited, countless expansions. And one of those with each and every form of life that is chosen to leave that personal presence. So that becomes our internal experience. Whereas in the spiritual world, face to face with Krishna, which Krishna in the form of the deity allows us to have with him here now too. We have to realize that also and see the deity for who he really is. That form the deity has taken has been on the earth ever since the earth's beginning. It's the oldest substance there is. We can say that, of course, of every rock. This temple, the form these rocks have taken, of course, were put into this form for the pleasure of the eyes and feet and everything else to walk on, whatever. But the substance that it is has been here since the earth was formed. So we're looking at that which could be considered the oldest there is to view on this planet. But because Srila Prabhupada has asked Krishna in the same form of Supersoul. So if Supersoul can expand to inhabit every single form of life there is, and it looks to me as though even those that get thrown by the wayside, how many grains of grass outside don't grow? They either get burned or, eaten by something. So how many forms of Supersoul there are? And so for Srila Prabhupada to ask Krishna to come to accept service through one more expansion, one form, but to reveal it through the same dimensions that his body is in. So this form that we worship in the form of the deity is not just rock carved out by men's hands. It was in a particular place, in relationship to a particular sacred river, in relationship to a particular sacred mountain, next to particular trees, group of trees. Everything had to be exactly like the scripture says. Can't be just cut out like a man wants it to be, of his own fashioning in his mind, even. So, this is how many people, without understanding, don't know why we are worshiping Krishna in this form. And just like it's explained about sannyas, this is not the form of worship for this age, but we carry it on as a matter of respect for the parampara that gives the Dharma for every age. So the Dharma that is carried out in this age continues with the followers of it. And when they come back to preach, they'll have that with them. This verse, Shrimadbhagavatam is talking about as well. That you will carry what you know of Krishna with you. So everything you build there in knowledge of Krishna is going with you. And these are the things we see. If we look with that ordinary mind that we've developed, we think, oh, that's for them. Only these elevated souls get that, right? Krishna is equal. Srila Prabhupada said when the fly lands on the deity, he's getting as much benefit as the soul who's offering the arti.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that amazing? That reveals Krishna's equality to the life forms that he has taken this form to give liberty to. So that at that moment, in that particular time in history, that soul has found the ability to land on the representation or body of the Supreme Person. That soul is going to be having great, tremendous benefit by that. When I go on the altar, a lot of times, for the most part anymore, I ask Krishna to take whatever benefit I may gain from it, and I would have a person in my mind, I ask him to bestow it upon them. This is my form of prayer. This is the way I pray for people.
On the fly.
Huh?
Destroyed on the flies.
Oh, no, I don't pray for the flies. They get it automatically if they land in a Christian's body. But I'm talking about people out there that you've known in your childhood. Maybe you have a teacher that gave you special friendship that allowed you to learn something. And that I had an algebra teacher like that I became friends with because he became a Christian and I became a Christian. And then we both met on that premise. And so now when I do arti, I have asked Krishna to please give him the benefit of that arti. And so he may not know where it's coming from. That will be a gata sukriti to him. He gets benefit, but not knowing where it's coming from. And so you can do that with your friends, especially when they're sick. Instead of trying to ask Krishna for a favor for yourself, just ask him to take whatever you're doing and credit it to someone else. Give someone else the credit for it. So in this way we can develop love. It's not much, but it's something. And Jagaguru tells me, those prayers you offer for another human soul, another soul, Krishna looks at more favorably. And when you pray for yourself, Jagaguru tells me he doesn't listen to those prayers.
Okay.
So I don't know boy, a lot of people have a lot of problems if that's true. But see, Krishna made the laws in such a way. He doesn't have to be here physically. Even as super soul, those laws are carrying out by the reactions of the activities we engage in. So we will give good for good activities, but the devotee knows that even good karma is not good. And we don't want karma at all. We want transcendence. And that's the only, the devotional service we're learning. That's the only way to get it. Free from karma is transcendence. And that's the aim of all these, looking towards these positions of sannyas, renunciation, chanting also. Becoming free from the bonds of the prison that this leaning towards the desires of the senses of this physical body gives us, the prison outside. Yes?
I know. Being old, dying is important. And from what you were saying, it was interesting. You knew Pandu, right?
Yeah. Oh, did I know Pandu, your husband? No, I did not. You know what? When I was told Pandu, I called Giri Govardhan. This was 1999. Asked him if I could come to return. He said, Pandu died. So immediately, I took it. The only Pandu I knew was, white body, chubby.
Yeah.
That's the Pandu I had thought had left his body.
Oh, shit.
And up until that point, Pandu and I had a little controversial kind of relationship going on. So it didn't strike me as someone that I had great loss for, great loss.
Okay.
Now I wouldn't feel the same way. We're good friends now.
Okay.
But, so I didn't know your husband at all.
It was interesting to me to see about a week or two before he passed. He was in another hospital, and he's like, he got up, he was like, he running. And he said, if I can Krishna,
Oh, wow.
I was like, I don't see it again.
Yeah.
And then the day that he did that, the Krishna arranged an Indian doctor came in, somebody who had never been in there before,
Wow.
and he told everybody for that day, if he looks like he's cold, throw water, throw tulsi leaves in his mouth, and get his family in there. And sure enough, I was getting ready to get something to drink from the cafeteria. And they said, no, come and talk in his ear, And I fussed at him and said, don't mess up now. You've worked all your life. Chant.
See, that may have been didn't know this Indian man at all? You didn't ask him to come.
He just,
Your husband didn't make a request? See, that's how Narada Muni does to devotees.
He just sneaks.
Yeah.
Okay.
He comes and brings the holy name. That's how he does.
that is so weird.
Yeah.
And he had a
See, just by your telling me that makes me feel that there's someone of that nature, a very elevated soul, right, to come. You hadn't asked or anything, but here he was, appropriately giving instructions about Tulsi Maharani. That's not ordinary soul. Have you ever seen this?
That was the weekend, Gurudeev's appearance day. And my son didn't want to go. I wanted to go. And my husband said, you'll mess everything up.
See, that's another thing.
But we're like, he's not dying.
See, here's another thing. Guru appears in the heart from time to time as well, as Chitra Guru. But what devotees don't know, and most human beings don't realize, and that's why I advise to watch this episode. It'll be on. This sequel of One Step Beyond reveals how the subtle body, which is developed by the mind somehow. Krishna says the soul is pervading the entire body. But there's a subtle body that has the ability, yogis can expand themselves 7 times, and it is a subtle body they're expanding with. In the dream state, you don't know it. You can actually be somewhere else in that subtle body, expanded. And this episode called The Explorer reveals this very truth in an episode called One Step Beyond. There's 69 episodes. And see, what is being revealed there is what most people would think to be out of the norm. May very well be what's happening to us when we are in the dream state and we don't know that we have a subtle body that actually goes there. It is the material energy. But that subtle body, just like you were saying, Pandu saw Krishna. In order to see that, then we have eyes of the soul has eyes. The subtle body has eyes, created by the mind. When you dream, you're seeing, your eyes are closed, aren't they? You're not seeing with these physical eyes. And the mind has eyes. And you use those eyes when you chant Gayatri, you're using the eyes of the mind to see that way, right? You envision the lower, middle, and upper planetary systems, right? First verse of that. So you're seeing that with the mind. And so in the dream state, what you're experiencing may well be the mind itself bringing you to other places. This is Ekankar understanding, if you've ever heard of Ekankar. They teach that how you can be dreaming and know that you're dreaming, and then perform supernatural activities. You can save people out of the battlefield. You can fly. You can go from here to there in a second.
Well, from what you're saying, as I was talking here, you remember Shrimadbhagavatam and some other devotees who used to be here. They were there, and all of Gurudeev's disciples were there for his appearance.
Wow.
And they actually could see Pandu.
They saw Pandu.
They saw him.
The same time that he saw, possibly.
Well, he looked like he was in a coma. I mean, he was out of it. But others...
Do you know what a coma is?
He wasn't in a coma, but he was trapped. He was a human dying.
See, There's a way to look at a coma to realize what is happening. So can it be from different perspectives as well? Because when a devotee engages in activities, he doesn't have his own desire, right? So Krishna wants to put him somewhere, and he is engaged in so many things. So even for Krishna to calculate where to put him takes time. The second of Krishna's time, though, might take 3 of our days, 4 or 5 days a week. So a person could be in a coma. And it's just figuring out the time. Now, there are people in coma because they committed so many evil acts and so many good acts that even Yamaraj, the balances have to be weighed. So for the laws of justice, which are automatically under the control, a devotee is removed from that. That's why I say in a devotee's case it may be. He has no desire to go anywhere. So Krishna, he's giving Krishna the choice. You put me where you want to. So then Krishna would make that decision.
Well, we were very glad.
You know?
He said he went to the night and got all the blessings of all the Holy Spirit for his parents.
Let me ask you then about that. Did he know Gitanagari was going on? Did he know Pandu know Gitanagari was going on?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he did know. Okay.
I told him, I'm going.
Yeah.
And he said, would you, you're going to mess with me.
Yeah.
And it was about a year or two before there. Then Krishna actually used a heart. And somebody announced Krishna was coming. And he was standing at the top of the stairs. And as he approached, he got larger and larger. And he heard the flute. And he said, it was just, it was better than anything.
Wow.
And so
Great. Yes, the
I was shut up.
devotees aren't ordinary souls.
And but I thought he was just ordinary.
Trust your imagination, yeah. We're running over.
That's okay.
But, yeah, it's wonderful that to hear. Isn't it encouraging to hear how devotees leave their bodies and how glorious it is that they're being encouraged to remember Krishna. That's the dearest friend we can have, you know. Somebody that can remind you of Krishna when you leave your body. Wow. That's a stepping stone. That's a diving board into Vaikuntha.
I shouldn't have fussed at him. Those were the last words.
Okay.
Yeah. Any comments, any questions, any realization? Make me cry. Krishna's mercy. Bhagavatam. Shrimadbhagavatam. You guys. Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah.